Hello, welcome back to Let's Finally Watch It, where we watch the movies that everyone has seen, but somehow we have not. I am Lauren-Blair Donovan.
And I'm Clark and
And this is my perfect little lapdog, Lady Grimaldi.
Hey, Grammy.
Hi, Grammy. She's our little mascot. And today, we are doing a first. We are watching a movie that both of us have not seen.
For whatever reason.
Well, there's specific reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
You take it away. You'll do a better job, I think.
No.
Why haven't you seen it?
Okay, the reason why I haven't seen it because it looks stupid.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
I mean, I feel bad.
No take backs.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, okay, it's weird. Okay, so it's the highest grossing film, right?
Or it was at one point. Now
point.
That movies are absurdly expensive, a lot of weird ones have infiltrated the top 20. I was looking at it at your house.
Oh, sure.
We were talking with your roommate about that. There was a lot of weird stuff in it that's current, but
yeah,
it was number one for a minute. Maybe it still is even.
Yeah, and so I don't think I specifically was like, oh, I'm not going to watch it because of that, but I just. Watching the trailers, it just didn't appeal to me. And I love James Cameron. He directed Terminator, Alien, 2.
Is he Titanic or am I making
Titanic,
that up?
yeah.
I hated that movie so much.
I don't think I hated it. I didn't hate it.
I did. I hadn't seen it since I was 14, so
okay.
I don't remember it. But I remember thinking it was real dumb, and I love Celine Dion, but I don't like that song either.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was dumb, of course, but I didn't. It definitely was it's so weird to make a movie where the ending anyway. But I feel like Avatar. Maybe there's a certain arc that he has in his career, James Cameron, where he kind of is just making something to be a spectacle just to be a spectacle.
Right.
Basically,
I can see that.
Yeah, so I haven't told you this, but I have been to Avatar Land at Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. I had a great time at this place.
There's an Avatar Land at Disney World?
It's
Disney World or Land?
World.
Oh, okay. I was wait, I was at Disneyland 4 years ago and I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, I think it's in the Animal Kingdom, which
that makes sense, right?
Are
they blue people? Are they blue?
They're blue, but they're not real, so I don't know why they're in the... Well, I guess they're animals. I guess technically any kingdom is an animal kingdom because humans are animals.
Right, and they're just a different species of humans.
Yeah, they're humanoid, yeah. So I don't know, but I went there, I went on a ride, and it was dope as hell. It was
Disney
literally...
Universal is really good, even if you haven't seen the movie.
Right, exactly.
It's super great, fun experiences during the rides, for sure, no matter what. So I believe it.
So it was epic. It was a good ride, and I really like it. But it'll be interesting to see. Why haven't you watched it? Just same reason.
I mean, similar. It just didn't really grab me, and I think I am one of those people, even as I age, which I'm not really proud of, but the more... Because I'm not trying to be pretentious, I'm not trying to be holier than thou, but the more people say something is good, the more people act like it's the thing to do, the more I'm like, meh. Because as Rodney Dangerfield said, the mainstream is pretty shallow.
Right, I mean, because it has to appeal to everybody.
Yeah, so it's if something that didn't grab me to begin with is suddenly super popular, it's gonna be a no for me.
Yeah.
It's just if I want to see it and it's popular, I'll see it. But the more it got hyped up, the more I just kind of rolled my eyes and was well, I don't really want to see this, or I don't know. It just didn't dawn on me to see it. I don't even know if it was an active choice. I just remember not caring and thinking it was weird at how successful it was. But you had a really interesting point because you've been saying, despite the fact that it's at least at one point, if not still, the number one movie.
Yeah.
What's the thing that you've been saying?
I've been saying I don't know anybody who's actually watched it.
It's a conspiracy.
I swear.
Let's start a conspircy that nobody actually saw Avatar back when it was released in 2008 or 9, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it was just how booksellers will buy the first 10,000 books just to make it onto the New York Times bestseller, which is terrible, but that's a real industry thing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe James Cameron bought up all the movie tickets to become number one, and then people maybe eventually started seeing it, but not anyone we know. Because I don't think I've never heard anyone maybe at the time I knew some people, but I knew a lot of basic people. I shouldn't say that. That was mean. I don't care. No take backs. I'm going to be honest and raw. But I mean, like, I feel like none of my friends, they might razz me for not seeing Star Wars or not seeing Wizard of Oz, but it's never like, you haven't seen Avatar.
Same.
That doesn't ever happen. Who has seen Avatar? What's the F? Like, no one cares about Avatar.
It really is not. And there's so many of those. There's so many movies that are in that genre of like must-sees. But like this, I've never heard anybody like, or if they have, it's like, oh, that's good. That's fine.
Right.
Like I've heard that.
Because didn't your roommate say that? Didn't he say he eventually saw it? And he was like, it was fine.
Yeah, he was like, it was fine. And that's like maybe like one other reaction that I've heard from people. But and it's been the same. It's been that reaction specifically, and I don't know. We'll see. It could be. Hey, it could be great.
I'm gonna laugh so hard if like with like movie and Hollywood magic when we come back in like 2 minutes, but really it's gonna be a week or two and no time for us, and we're gonna be like. We're going to end it on the note ready where it's like, oh, we don't want to see it. It looks like it sucks. We have taste. And then 2 seconds later, we'll be like, actually, it was quite good. It's my new favorite movie. I like it more than Tommy Boy and My Girl. Who would have thought?
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll make space for that to happen. It could happen, and I'm going to laugh so hard at ourselves if that happens. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I think one of the problems that I have with it, too, though, and I think the reason why I won't do that is because I already think I have it mapped out in my head.
So do you think you know what the plot is?
I think relatively.
Isn't it? I was thinking about this today when I was getting ready to meet up with you, and I don't want to research it because I don't want to give away the plot to myself, so I'm going to research it after we watch, but I heard somewhere that it's like kind of lifted from like another something or another.
Fern Gully.
So I never saw that. I haven't seen that either. Yeah.
Because I think that's a Don Bluth movie. But yeah, no, that's what I've heard. I know the plot of Fern Gully.
So that's why you think you know what we're in for.
So I do, and if I've heard multiple people say it, I'm pretty certain I know what specifically there is going to be in it. So I mean, I could be wrong.
Notes. You have the cliff notes going in.
I think I have the cliff notes, but of course, like I feel like it's not going to be. It's probably going to be very violent or whatever.
Yeah, different tones maybe or different.
Yeah. And I mean, like the thing is, I really do. I love science fiction, but this kind of doesn't feel like a science fiction movie to me. It feels like a war movie. I don't know. So
it's a war movie. Ugh.
I think so.
I'm even less looking forward to it.
Oh, sorry. Like I mean.
I'm just not into action. I don't care. I check out.
Yeah, but I think it has a science fiction bent to it, so that's why I'm saying
I'm hit or miss with science fiction.
Okay.
Like there's some science fiction I don't like, but also if you sit me down in front of Battlestar Galactica, which I haven't seen a lot of, but I have seen a few episodes of, and I was very entranced with. Like I was shocked at how entranced I was. So I'm very hit or miss with science fiction.
Yeah. So I mean. So it's like a 25% chance you'll like it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. If not, well, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna make like a list of like, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
List of what? Of what we don't like, our grievances, like a list of grievances.
Yeah, and I'm certain that there's so many people that worked on it, and I'm certain it's going to be beautiful. I think part of why people saw it in the theaters, allegedly, we're going to go back to the conspiracy, but I think it was supposed to be the definition of a visually stunning cinematic experience. Right. You know, like you don't have to see comedies necessarily in a theater, unless you want to laugh at people. That's a bad example. You don't have to see a sad movie in a theater, but you see action, you see sci-fi, you see... anything with visual effects, which I think this movie is probably lousy with. Absolutely. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you go to a theater for. So I think it's supposed to be like one of the most expensive movies. I think so too. So if it doesn't, then yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. Well, let's go watch it, I guess. Let's go watch it. Okay, we'll be right back, guys. This is our first begrudging one, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll come back with super fans and t-shirts on. We love Avatar. Yes, our faces are going to be blue and everything. Oh my god. Yes, please. Okay. Bye. Bye. And
And we are back. We have watched the first movie that neither of us have seen.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is Avatar, and I think it's going to be a collective 4 thumbs down.
Right.
Am I speaking out of turn?
No, you're not speaking out of turn.
We did watch this together. We were not thrilled, but we've kept a lot of our thoughts to ourselves. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was so hard not talking about this.
Yeah, we needed to trauma dump, I think.
Right.
I did, at least. I did not like this movie. For 20 minutes, I was okay with it. In the middle, towards the end, boy, did I hate every second of it otherwise.
I think I liked it slightly more than you did, but not much.
Not a lot, yeah.
Like, I'm not...
Yeah.
Because, again, like, you know... What
You're
we
more
said in
into
the
fantasy
preview.
and into action and war scenes than me.
Right,
Yeah.
but this was... we could just start with the plot and everything. Like, it was so convoluted from the beginning, and that's my problem with it. Because there are several other movies. Like we were saying, my favorite is magical realism.
Mm-hmm.
Magical realism is basically, okay, like, let's tell you how we're able to trap ghosts. Like, there is like a scientific way. I'm talking about Ghostbusters. I know you haven't seen that yet, but but I feel like in movies like that, though, like, so we get, okay, the logic makes sense. This is a science.
There's a backstory. There's a context. There's a explanation, even if it wouldn't exist in real life.
Exactly.
This is the world of the movie that we're in. Yeah.
Yeah, and
They just kind of dropped us.
I think from the beginning, it pulled from so many movies and did such a worse job at, like, almost all of them. But yeah.
It was so jarring because it was just a lot of people that had no depth, no complexities, one note, and that was just basically yelling at other people or disregarding other people or being like aggro he-men, even the women, you know?
Yes.
Like, it was just very like, this is what we're doing and don't do that, that's bad, and blah, blah, blah. Here's a bad joke that's a cliche, and blah. Like, it was just like, I'm like, I don't like any of this because I would never want to be around any of these people in my real life.
No nuance at all.
It's not even love to hate. It's just hate.
I was thinking maybe these people were just kicked off of Earth and they had nowhere else to go, so they had
That's
to go
got
to
to
this
be
planet.
it, because these were the worst people. Like, we talked a little bit about this, about how Sigourney Weaver and Giovanni Ribisi, is that how you say his name? I love both of them. They almost saved the movie for me because they have so much screen presence. But it was still clunky because it was so poorly written. Not sorry. The dialogue sucked. And those two giants in the acting world almost saved those characters, but it wasn't their fault. They could not be saved.
Exactly.
Like,
they really gave them the worst. One note, like, because I've seen. I mean, it's such. It made so, like, going back to, like, I mean, it's directed by James Cameron,
right?
Which I've been a fan of, like, almost my entire life. I mean, I wasn't super into Titanic, but, like,
I hated that movie. I think that's the only other movie of his I've seen.
Okay.
So I'm not a James Cameron fan so far.
No, I understand that, but like, in a lot of things that he's done, it hasn't. I mean, he made Billy Zane's character kind of look.
Wait, who was Billy Zane?
In Titanic?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember the movie that well. Okay.
Like, because he's very one note in that movie.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, he's famously like one note in that, and he's just a bad dude, and you don't really get any. But, like, he made, like, all the characters in this were, like, worse than that, which was
they were just so, and they were all the same character. There was no nuance in a sea of 12 people that we kind of initially met, or like 8 to 12 people, whatever it was. It was like, they all kind of looked semi-different, not really though. So like I could kind of tell everyone apart, but not because of what they were saying or how they were acting. It was just all a lot of the same energy. And
they all get kind of lost in the spectacle.
Yeah.
So this is something that my mom always says about like the Avenger movies or whatever movie, like whatever action movies. She's like, oh, I just watched it. There's just like a bunch of people flying around and fighting. I don't know what happened. Like, and I will say almost the same thing about this movie, where I'm like, oh, these people were in a bunch of set pieces. I don't really understand any of it. Yeah.
My first two notes literally basically say this. I say we're 2 minutes in and I'm already hating this. I have no idea why we should care about these people. Too much males being cliche, action, no nonsense males. I don't give a fuck about special effects. And then I have, why is he in a wheelchair? I don't care.
Right, and
like
you know
they really hit. I didn't even realize he was a twin because it was really confusing. Like that took me a minute to absorb what his backstory was. The main guy, I don't remember his name, and I don't care. Sam Worthington. I'm just gonna. That's his character, or not his character's name, his actor's name. Because the flashbacks are confusing with how they're cut.
Right. And I think it was kind of like there's another movie that is in a similar vein that I liked better, but I also didn't like. From the get-go, it like that's what I was saying about like this science does not make any sense. Like throughout the movie, I'm like, wait, the rules are different now? I don't understand what the rules are on this anymore.
They don't explain any of it, and
you kind of dropped into it.
Really understand. I'm assuming we're in the future, hence like everything's hologram, like the tablets and the TV screens, but they don't. I don't think they make that super clear, and they're dressed like anyone dressed in 1995 or 2005. Like it really wasn't. I appreciate that they didn't make everyone wear silver and have these absurd ideas about the future people, but it was not a creative choice to just put them like Giovanni Ribisi's character is in like a button down and khakis the entire time, and I guess to some extent it is timeless. But like really they couldn't have given him a flashy belt or like a light up tie or I don't know, something to indicate that it's a different time. I'm not saying I would have liked those choices, but I appreciate choices. Right. And it just sort of felt like they got really lazy, like they put Sigourney Weaver in like, I don't know, like a Hillary Clinton pantsuit or something. Yeah. Like I don't remember, but it wasn't the script at all. Whatever she was wearing, it was very business casual. Like get it on sale at Talbot's. Like it was just like, this is the future.
Exactly.
I don't want it there. This is weird.
Well, I mean, that's it was remarkably bland in that way, which they spent so much money on this movie.
I guess they didn't have any left over for the wardrobe of the people.
and it really was stuff that you could just. I mean, again, I wouldn't have. You're right. I was guessing this was like 2040. I was like in timeline.
Not
I was like, okay,
that
it's
much
2040.
in the future.
Yeah, but it was like 2150.
Something like that. Yeah, it was the 2100s.
Oh, 2154.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay. Well, the technology looked a little bit better, but like there are. I mean, there's just nothing interesting to look at in as far as that goes, and and you're just kind of dropped into this world and this story, but I think it's weird because like James Cameron had really been good at like because he did like I was saying Aliens. He did Aliens, which is one of my favorite movies, which I think this movie ripped off a lot from.
Which is funny because it's like that's his own movie.
That's his own movie.
It's like did you ever watch the Elton John SNL where after Princess Diana died, he rewrote Candle in the Wind, which he had already written for Marilyn Monroe some decades before. And SNL, this is like right after Diana died, so like the late 90s, they did one of those scrolling fake commercials where it's like, you know how they'd be like, best hits of the 70s, and you'd have like the scrolling titles. And it was like, but it was all about Elton John rewriting his own songs. Because they were like, no one rewrites his own songs like Elton John. And then they made up all these other songs like Benny and the Jets, but there was like a sequel to it or whatever. Right. It was just very funny. But yeah, that's how it sounds to me when you're saying that he ripped off his own movie.
Exactly. I mean, like, spoiler for you on this, but like, it really is about like corporations doing something dangerous and not having, which is a thing that we live with now.
Yeah.
Amazon is probably, I mean, this is probably, you know what? I would say this is probably Amazon. Like, this is probably the future of Amazon.
Like the company?
Yeah, the company.
Yeah.
I think it would be exactly as bland as this would be. And like, there were so many things that were lifted from other movies.
Yeah.
And, like, okay, like, getting into, like, even the Na'vi, I wouldn't have been able to tell, like, not say, so, like, there's, like, different Na'vi, and like, so we're dropped in this world, and so we see all these humans and everything, and then we have to understand that, like, these people could go into these bodies of
Which, by the
Na'vi.
way, I was like, what the hell are these? Because it looked like sea monkeys. They're just growing them in water.
Right.
I'm like, wait, so the future, you can literally farm these humanoid things like sea monkeys? Like, that's the future? Like, that was weird to me.
I thought that was very strange. And, like, the thing is like, that was, like, really I mean, I think it was the only plot device that they could use. Because, like, in reality, this could have been about any explorer visiting.
Yeah.
This was Dances with Wolves, Last Samurai, the in this case, the human savior, but usually the white savior.
Right. And this human was white, so
was white,
there we go.
And they picked...
And the whole cast was white.
Yeah.
Like, in the military base part, at least. I can't think of one black person or any person of color. Michelle Rodriguez, maybe.
Yeah, Michelle, yeah.
But, like, besides her...
Yeah.
White Petersons.
Yeah, it was very white, and then, they got... And then Zoe Saldana, she was... You know,
blue.
She was blue. I know, and I was...
Well, can we just talk about her character for a minute? Poor Zoe. So, like, I literally halfway through the movie, I turned to him. I'm like, isn't Zoe Saldana in this?
And I was like...
That is her. And I was starting to suspect it was her, but, like, it's not just that she was blue. It's the whole elongating. It's the whole, like, all their noses were kind of like... shark noses are kind of like flat, you know? So, and then I got the Pixar eyes. So, like, you can't really see who's portraying any of these people with any real accuracy. And I was like, that's gotta be her because I know she's so highly billed in this. But I'm having trouble, my brain is not totally accepting that this is her. There's just too much uncanny valley shit happening.
Oh, wow.
But then it's also like, it really doesn't look like the blue version of her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did anyone get sold to do... Think about all those people that booked a James Cameron fucking film, and then they can't even show their grandkids who they were. They're just in a sea of blue.
Sure.
Like, you don't even... Like, that's not a star-making vehicle. Like, that's like, oh, you want to be in a huge movie, but no one's ever going to recognize you. Which is great if you want to be anonymous, but if you want to be known in the industry, that backfire... Like, that... It was a really weird thing that my brain is still processing.
Well, I think that kind of attests to the unmemorableness of it.
Yes.
Like we were saying in the preview review, we were talking about how I don't know many people who have seen it. Like, I really don't. And anybody who does, they're like, that was fine.
Yep, it's a big fat...
I saw it in IMAX. And, I mean, that kind of goes to another thing about it is, like, you know, we watched it on my TV is pretty big. Yeah, it's like a 65-inch and sound system and everything. And I still didn't think it looked that good, you know? But anyways, and like, I mean, with like the faces and everything, because I will say the one like nerdy dude, you could tell that was him.
You could tell it was him, but...
And Sigourney Weaver, too.
But did he have glasses, too, though, even with the blue guy?
No.
He didn't? Okay. For some reason with him, but Sigourney... Okay, this confused me. Okay, it made a little more sense as the movie went on, because some of the blue people had these, like, braids. But when first... Okay, like, literally, he's laughing because he knows what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because I said this, like, the second we realized who blue Sigourney Weaver was... I was like, oh, cool. Who gave the white girl that's now blue Jamaican braids?
I know.
Because we don't know that a lot of the blue creatures have that. So I'm like, they just made a choice to culturally appropriate when she's blue. Like, because she's not dressed like she is either. She's wearing a crop top.
A Stanford crop
Yes, with
top.
like khaki shorts or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, I was, and then we met all the other blue creatures, and a lot of them have braids. So I'm like, okay, that was not as like weird of a choice as I thought, but it still kind of made me a little uncomfortable, and I didn't understand why half the blue humans that were now these like blue avatars, half of them were dressed so differently, and half of them weren't dressed at all. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, this is just messy. It was messy storytelling.
Yeah. But also, I think they kind of... So the whole thesis of this is that... The overall thesis is, hey, imperialism and you know, trying to fuck over societies to get these resources, that's messed up.
Bad idea.
That's so bad. But they betray that with that. With the blandness of that. And also them portraying them as like, oh, these are like, you know, the natives here.
Right.
I mean, that is literally what they are, is the natives.
Yeah.
The way that they wrote a lot of the people in that tribe, it's like, okay, this guy's violent and stuff like that. Okay, we're gonna, like, there wasn't any nuance with that. Like, I wouldn't have been able, what they were, basically what all the generals were saying about them was kind of not that wrong. You didn't see that much nuance within their culture, which I think is horrible, because it kind of like...
Well, it was really overly simplistic, like the culture that they...
Exactly.
I still didn't even totally understand it, to be honest with you. Like, I understood that they were very nature-based, and there was a spirituality with it, but that's kind of my only takeaway, because it was... Which is problematic storytelling in its own right. Because it's like, if you're going to be telling a story about not disturbing other people's land, make them multi-ething dimensional. Don't make them like rudimentary, one note.
Right.
Because that's bad.
They were all exactly the same. I wouldn't have been able to tell any of them apart. And even at the end of the movie, when, you know, they get all the people to band together, this tribe, I wouldn't have been able to tell those.
It was really confusing.
There was no diversity amongst that, which is, I think, in itself so
they could have been slightly different heights. They could have had more
different specialties,
different shades of blue. Even would have really helped as a viewer. So I was having trouble figuring out who was who until with the main 5 blue people that were actually native to that tribe and not the avatars. By the end of the movie, I can kind of keep, okay, that's her parents, that's the sort of boyfriend that she doesn't like, but that took a while for me to like learn.
And then, but that's only the surface level of that, and then that's it. Because like, if you watch, like, there's some, like, even I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones or whatever, but it's like, okay, these people are from the Blue Vale, and these people are from, you know, the north, these people are from King's Landing. Like, you could get like a diversity amongst all those groups and whatever, and you could be like, oh shit, okay, they're all banding together to do this thing. And it was like, these people, it's just like, oh no, they're just all one now. Oh, is there
because that's not life. I mean, like, if you look at our country back when Native Americans, before they were screwed over, they had very different clothing, very different customs, very different, like different tribes were night and day different. And so is the rest of the world in terms of, like, if you live in different continents, different countries. Hell, even America currently. The South is very different than the Northeast, you know, versus the West Coast versus the Midwest. I mean, there's different customs, cultures, accents, ways of dressing. To an extent, I mean, there's popular stuff that's always going to be popular across the board, but there
like,
are
even with
differences.
Even with, like, the travel that we have, even with the media that we have, there's still a lot of diversity and regional diversity. And it was like, oh, we're not going to give them any of that, you know? And that's what really...
It was terrible storytelling.
Yes, it was horrible.
Really reductive. Like, really... it was, and then, like, even the humans, like, we kind of already said this, they all kind of suck too, but it's like, I just saw this note pop out where it's like Jake, who is the lead guy, is a
Oh,
toxic.
Jake,
yeah, I thank God I wrote that down. Jake is a toxic male who thinks he knows more than these scientist doctor things, and that drove me up a wall. And I think I wrote that when he was in the Avatar for the first time. And I get it. He's in a wheelchair. He's been in combat. He can walk as a blue man, but literally everyone is telling him, sit down, you are not acclimated, and he's like running around like a mental patient escaping from a mental hospital, and he's not listening to a damn thing that they say. And I'm like, why am I supposed to care about this knucklehead as a lead? This is toxic masculinity at its worst.
I know this. I mean, so blatant. And so this guy Sam Worthington, and you know what? I respect actors and stuff like that, but like this guy was in like so many things around this time that I did see. He was in Terminator Salvation. He was in Clash of the Titans, and also the Return of the Titans. No, that's a football movie. But like there's but like he was, every movie that he was in, like I just like immediately, like for whatever reason, were casting him in these things, and he has I hate to say it, but has the charisma of like.
I agree. He wasn't a bad actor.
He wasn't a bad actor.
But he doesn't have that Scaborni and Giovanni presence. Like, it's literally, okay, as a woman, I felt kind of attacked because I don't typically like the typical leading males.
Sure.
Like, that's just not, I like tall, skinny guys that I can share clothing with, you know? So when you put a Sam Worthington on screen, I get annoyed because I'm like, oh, they are marketing him to me as if I'm supposed to automatically like him. Yeah. As like just a cookie cutter female, and if he's not even going to be charming about it. Right. Oh, I'm really going to hate this character out of rebellion. And that's exactly what happened. I'm like, I hate this boring, basic ass guy that I wouldn't even look twice at. And I'm supposed to care about him, and he's being a dick, and he's like Christopher Columbusing. Exactly. Or like John Smith. Like a lot of Pocahontas. Like that felt like Pocahontas in a lot of ways. Yeah. And so I was just like annoyed, and he might be a lovely human, and by the end I'm like, oh, he is really beautiful. Like I wasn't crushing, but like my brain kind of processed his face finally. I'm like, oh, okay, I get why they cast him, sort of, but he's still, I don't know if he's a bad actor, but it's like, he could have made more nuanced choices. Good actors make nuanced, grounded choices. He could have ran like he was like a maniac when he could, as a blue person, and still found a way to have fun with it versus just being one note, nope, I'm going to keep running. Right. Like, or... I don't know, maybe he's not that good of an actor. Maybe I'm taking it back. No. Like, not a bad actor, but not like a master actor. No, but I do feel like that's just a symptom. I mean, if they did Sigourney and Giovanni dirty in this... Yeah, no one stood a chance. Right, nobody stood a chance. I mean, they are amazing. Yeah, because I love Michelle Rodriguez, and I don't know her that well. I never watched Lost. She was on Lost. She was on Lost, yeah. I never saw her. And I think she's also in the Fast and the Furious movies. Which I did not see either, so yeah. But I do like her. I actually do really like her. And she has some charismatic moments. Towards the end especially. She was probably one of my favorite characters in it, for sure. Sure. But yeah, even with that, it was like... They still didn't do her great. They did her kind of dirty too. Like, it's still a little one note, but her acting shined through to make her more interesting. Exactly, but they really kind of like were just muting everybody. But also at the same time, it was just like, oh, I'm going to do this because of reasons. There's like literally everybody's motivation. I mean, I get it, which was money in most of these cases and stuff like that. But it's not like, oh man, I want to reference other movies, but you haven't seen them. But like, like Joker or whatever. You know the Joker from Batman and Robin. Yeah. In the general franchise. Yeah, exactly. I'm more of an Adam West Batman kind of person. I don't really watch the movies, but I like the old series. So who played him? It was Cesar Romero. Played the original Joker. The thing is, he was an agent of chaos and stuff like that, and
I'm a bad guy because, like, I think the world needs to be spun into. And I hate to use Joker because Joker is such a, like, oh, that's literally me meme, like amongst a lot of neckbeards or whatever. But I feel like there's, like, the best villains, there's, like, something too. Because I think you mentioned it too. You were like, oh, give me a sick kid. Give me I'm doing this because
reason. You need a reason.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like, I hate it when movies have too much exposition. Like, that can get really clunky. But this movie had none.
Yeah, which I'm realizing I just need a little bit. I need a little bit.
I think it's like, I think the best writing doesn't over-explain, but it has a line. That, like, well, we just watched When Harry Met Sally. That episode's out, so we can say that movie, we understood what the exposition was. Within the first 5 minutes, they're talking about if men and women can be friends in a believable, rounded way. Whether you agree with it or not, that's those characters' point of views.
For sure.
You're set up for the rest of the movie. The writing in that, no matter what's aged, is amazing. Like, the way they pack in the point of views, the way they pack in the plot points, the way they, like, bury certain leads. This is not that. And it's interesting when you were saying, we're just doing this because of reasons. Like, that sort of seems like how that's James Cameron's point of view. And no wonder all the characters were kind of written that way. Like, I don't think he has a lot of nuance.
I guess not.
Especially if he's ripping off of his own movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was... Yeah, because it's like, hence Jake's just running around like a crazy person. It's like, reasons.
Right, and I didn't, like, man, I just, it was disappointing, and I hate to say it, like, this is the reason why I didn't want to watch it. You know, it's because I thought it would be like this, and I was, and you know what, like I said, like, I went on the ride at Disneyland, and that was great. That was probably one of the best rides.
It would have been pretty. I mean, it's a pretty world.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Like, I think you get to fly one of those dragon thingies.
Oh, that's
cool.
cool.
The Banshees.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it was beautiful. So that was my only thing that I had seen with it, and I was like, so, like, I was like, wow, you know what, maybe this will look good. I did think it looked good at night, and I know that's a very Clark thing to say, but, like, I think it looked beautiful at night and everything.
It was really pretty, but you know what, I wrote this down somewhere. I really couldn't get over the fact that this just wasn't a cartoon or a live action cartoon, because if I can't tell who Zoe is, because they did so much digital effects on her. Like, I'm sure they painted everyone blue, but they made everyone skinnier, they made everyone longer. They're all like 7 foot or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, why not just draw a freaking cartoon?
Yeah, no, I get that.
What was the point? Like, Roger Rabbit it. Like, I don't know, like, have the live action humans and then this world's in cartoon. Because that's practically what they did.
Well, I mean, no, it's definitely, I mean, the actors are kind of just,
Like, they should have been voice actors.
Right. I think so, too. Like, the motion capture, I don't think it adds that much. Except, I mean, there are certain people who nail it, like, Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. You probably haven't seen that, so, a great tour de force, fudge, I forgot what his name is, the actor, but he is known for doing these motion captures, and he does them so well and stuff like that. And I think, like, a lot of the emotion kind of doesn't come out in that. Yeah, you're right. And
the only thing I appreciated, and this is me talking as a puppeteer, where you know, I'm trained to, it's more complicated than it sounds. I'm trained to make sure puppets are as animated as humanly possible. And this is the only positive thing I can say about the movie. I loved that their ears, the whatever the blue people were called, Na'vi, sorry, their ears would move when they were excited or scared.
Yeah.
Like, whoever was in charge of that did a very good job.
Yeah.
Because like that's the kind of details I would notice based on my training of like I have to know how to make puppets look cold, I have to know how to make them look scared. And I don't work with puppets that have like ear rods, but there are more intricate puppets where there's multiple people manning a puppet that has intricate ways. So I was like, but again, it could have been puppets. They could have done puppets.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's really realistic puppets out there now. It just felt so silly to use these people to do these captures, and then they basically cartooned it afterward. It was just, I didn't like it. I really did not like it.
Well, so I mean, I think this kind of is a symptom of a lot of movies these days.
Yeah.
Like, they're only thinking about what we could do in 3D or whatever and stuff like that. And I feel like this movie, I could tell where they were like, oh, this is gonna look good in 3D, but they missed so many other things.
They missed everything else.
Right, but that is cool about the the ear things and stuff like that, and even the animals were kind of just like regular animals with like an extra eye or something, and like and also like the whole, we haven't even talked about like the USB that everybody has, the Navi has, to link up to any animal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I thought that was such a strange, deep.
It was cool, I guess, but it was not expected, maybe? I don't know what to say about it, because it was just like, oh, this is how this world works. That was one of the only explanations we got.
Right. That was such a strange thing. And I guess they're trying to like say, okay, these people are literally connected to nature.
Yeah.
But that flummoxed me more, and that was so distracting to me. It's like, oh, I have to, this thing is like, this animal is like a car to me. Because like, I mean, there's no like relationship where it's like, what did they get out of it then? You're just riding them until they die. Like,
I literally put beating horses into submission, because like domesticated horses, they're basically like, their spirit is beaten out, and it's like, but I was like, a la a pterodactyl, because they're kind of closer to pterodactyl, kind of stuff, and it's just like, I don't know, because it was just submission over the animal. Right,
exactly. And I was like, such a strange like plot device. I didn't think was needed. I mean, again, was an attest to the runtime being so long, but like, it's like, cut that part out. Like, why do we need a USB?
Cut so many parts out.
Let's just say, I mean, and it's weird because I watched a movie recently called Elvis by Baz Luhrmann about Elvis. One of my biggest complaints about that movie was that it was so long, but like they missed so many details. Like, and the thing is that we've, I've watched plenty of movies that are very economical, and it's like, wow, we were on like 5 different planets. Like, like me talking about like Star Wars. Most Star Wars movies, they're on like
multiple things,
5 or 6 planets, and that's like a 2-hour movie. It's like 3 hours. Like, we were zapped afterwards. We had to take a break. We did.
We took a break. I don't think I said this, but I literally kept looking at your clock in your living room every 5 minutes, thinking 20 minutes had passed for the first hour.
Yeah.
Eventually I stopped doing that, but I was like, you had turned to me at one point and was like, I can't even get through this. Would you be offended if we turned it off? I would have been like, yeah, because that's a point of view we can talk about even if we don't get through it.
Sure.
I would have been, I wasn't going to say it because I can be a stick in the mud, but I was like miserable. I did not want to be watching this movie. I was like, because it was not economical at all. Like, it just didn't make sense. Like,
and I also, I wanted to give it a fair shake. I really genuinely did. And even in the preview review, I was like, hey, you know what?
We're gonna try.
I hope I'm wrong.
Me too. I was hoping too. But within 2 minutes, with all that aggro masculinity that's one-dimensional, I was like, good Lord, this is gonna be a long ride.
Yeah, and I mean, even right now, even talking about it, I'm like,
yeah,
like.
Well, okay, let's talk about some of the weirder elements of it, because we talked about this a little bit when we were watching it, because I think I called it out. But, like, it's in the future. It's over 100 years into the future. And they're still smoking and smoking indoors. That was the most jarring moment. I could think it was Sigourney Weaver. Yeah. Randomly just smoking a cigarette in her office or wherever they were. And I was just like, excuse you? Like, wait, what year are we in? Because, like, ever since the 90s, smoking has been I think it was decreasing before, but especially in public spaces, that's when it stopped being smoking or non-smoking sections and things of that nature.
Marijuana, maybe.
I think it was a cigarette, though. It looked like a cigarette. Marijuana, I get. On the job, it's a choice. Not so sure I support it, but, like, that would make more sense. Another thing about the future that I think that they got wrong was they had those like video diary logs. Oh yeah. And Jake was like, "What is this? I just talk." And I'm like, "Okay, this movie came out in 2009, but oh my God, little did they know within 5 to 10 years that would be the norm. People are always talking into their phones, whether it's for Instagram. Hello, if you're watching, hi, we're waving at you now. If you're not watching and just listening, we waved at the camera like schmucks, like, hi mom, we're on TV. But it's like, it's just so funny to me what you can predict so falsely about the future and yet so correctly. Like, James Cameron was correct in thinking that, in the future people will just video diary journal, but he was wrong in terms of the timeline. That is not an absurd concept 150 years from when the movie was made. Jake, like, this literally, it took less than a decade for that to become the norm since the movie was made. So I was like, it stands out like a sore thumb when you watch it over 13 years after it was made. So,
and I think, like, what would have helped this movie personally would have been like, let's see Earth. Maybe there's a reason why he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Earth is destroyed and there are no cameras.
And maybe that's why masculinity, like toxic masculinity, is so popular in the culture, because it was a survivor thing. It wasn't something that, because I feel like that's been being exorcised out in culture for good reason. But it's like, we're missing what happened. What the hell happened in this century prior? Which is crazy, though, because I did Google about halfway through the movie. I was so bored during the fight scenes, like at the end. Which was 30 minutes. I feel like
it was a literal 30 minutes.
Yes, it was a half hour of a war, and it could have been told in 10 minutes. It really was gratuitous. I was not having it. I don't like film like that. So I started IMDbing the actors and the trivia behind it, and that's when I found out that not only is there, because we talked about how there was going to be a sequel, but that's when we found out there's going to be 5 sequels. Literally for the next 2 years, after 2 years, after 2 years, it just says Avatar 3 for 2024, Avatar 4 for 2026, and then up to 2028. And it's like, this movie, unless they're going to literally go back in time and explain why this exists. Right. I don't want to watch it either way, to be honest with you, but that's the only thing that makes sense as to why to keep this, make it even a franchise. Explain why this piece of shit movie ended up being a piece of shit. Like, what was the culture that led up to this?
So it's interesting because, like, James Cameron is kind of the king of the sequel. Like, his best movies are sequels. Terminator 2 and Aliens. So he didn't direct Alien, but he directed Aliens. And, like, both those movies were, like, big upgrades from the first one, but like, I don't know where you could go. So I think this would have to be like an opposite thing. Like, they would, you're right.
Do a prequel, explain why.
Have to say, okay, this is what's happening on Earth. It's almost like, like the way Planet of the Apes was. It was kind of like, okay, we need to go back and explain why this happened. Because otherwise, this is a crazy movie. Nobody likes it anymore. And it's true, because nobody, obviously, we were talking about, like, nobody has been talking about this, and it's it's like, what world are they coming from? We're seeing a colony, right? But like, and you know what? There have been other, like, so, plenty of movies where we're on like an outpost somewhere and stuff. I mean, even Star Wars, that's a galaxy far, far away.
Right.
I mean, bringing it up all the time.
But they could have done even
Yeah.
I know that they have the font moving in the beginning
Yes.
that explains why the hell this is happening. Like,
Yeah.
Avatar, if they're going to rip off other movies, they could have done that.
Yeah.
They could have ripped off that.
Because the exposition was, he was this dude's a Marine. His brother died. He has the same genome. Also, that wouldn't work. That
Right.
wouldn't necessarily work.
Right.
I mean, he like twins to a certain extent.
It's dicey.
Because my dad's a twin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there's there's certain things that wouldn't work about that, but which was very strange. And then also like you're not like, I mean, and then like going back to the whole like, what were they thinking going inside, like getting these bodies and going like linking up to them? Like what was
so weird?
Like if everybody wanted to just blow up, like on Earth, where they like, oh hey, we need to protect these people. Like they're very nice about it, and they're like, hey, we need to like not displace these people. We don't know what that technology is and stuff. Do they utilize that technology on other things where they have avatars? Why don't? Okay, so we have all these people fighting, or so there are humans on the base fighting. Are those people avatars? Why don't they have avatars of humans then?
Right,
So real people wouldn't die. Like there are
a lot of plot holes, and it also, like, I wrote this down, but we eventually found it out, where it was like, what happens to the because like when he gets trapped in the forest the first night when he meets Zoe, whatever her character name was, and they go nappy nap in the little like hammock things, right? I was thinking to myself, because Michelle Rodriguez had to fly them out, and she was like, there's we're ordered, we cannot fly at night.
Yes.
Which, but low-key, okay, that makes sense, but the fact that, like, Jake was a military person and wasn't taking any orders from anyone, I'm like, that person does not exist. Like, he would have been trained to listen to his superiors. So,
Absolutely.
like, it was just a bad character development. Sorry, I'm really not going to let that go. But it's like, so I'm like, what happens to his avatar? Because can't they plug him back in? Can't they? And then you find out that it just looks like he's sleeping when he's back on Earth, but he was, or not on Earth, but back with the people. It's like he was back with the people a lot. What the hell did his little girlfriend, his little blue girlfriend, when he just wouldn't wake up in the morning, or he just wasn't around, or looked like he was dead? Like, that's such a plot hole that, like, eventually we figured out he just looks like he's sleeping, but it still wasn't really explained past that until it was convenient, because it looked like he died.
Yeah, right, exactly. And the problem with that too, like, so going back to that first night when he was lost, they were like, oh well, he's fucking dead. Like, he's fucking okay.
They could have plugged him back in.
You could have
the Avatar could have died, but he didn't have to die.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, but how would they? We don't know where he's at. There's no locators on them.
They don't have like GPSs in their eyes. Like, seriously?
So we have this technology where we could literally link the complicated neurons in a human's brain and transfer it.
But we can't Google map them while we do it.
We can't locate them.
It's insane to me. It's insane. Like, so many plot holes. I think for even 2009 technology standards, like whatever James Cameron, while writing the movie, he could have had these answers, or could have filled in these blanks. I don't think it's like a 2022 perspective we're looking at this through.
It's not.
I think it's like, we would have had this very similar issues. If they did this, why couldn't they do that? Conversations, if we saw this, like, apparently all the people that did, all the millions of people, even though we don't really know these people, I think we would have had the same questions. Yeah.
And, like, the thing is, like, why worry about them then? Like, you could see what they're doing, and I don't know. That was so weird.
It drove me, and that was part of why. It's not just that there wasn't a clear exposition or reason to care about these people or their mission. It wasn't just that everyone was aggro and very, like, even the women, very testosterone driven with their behaviors. It was like, this doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Like, on a baseline level.
Yeah. And also, like, the thing is, Jake, I understand that he's a soldier, so maybe that's what made him different. But, like, why does he have to be the one when all these people... Because there are plenty of movies... One of my favorite movies is... or one of my favorite movies growing up that it's not necessarily my favorite movie, but Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we'll add it
Wow,
to the
what?
list. We'll add it
I'm
to
so
the list.
shocked. No. I don't think it's a necessary watch. But it is a movie where it's the white protagonist, but he is stupid as fuck. And all the people, because he's in Chinatown, so all these Asian Americans are like kicking ass, and he's like at the end gets the credit, but it's supposed to be like a wink wink, look at this guy's an idiot, and he still gets
kind of
the
like
credit.
falling upwards,
Yeah.
like failing upwards or whatever it's called.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's all these actors, all the other characters are like making it so he doesn't die,
Right.
and they're getting none of the credit,
Right.
but he's like he's an idiot and stuff like that. But like in this dude is like, okay, I've never been in this body, now I'm just like fucking killing it because
I don't even
I'm
understand the technology
human.
behind it, but here
Exactly.
I am. And like again, he's a military person. He would have been trained to take orders, and they're telling him to sit the fuck down.
Right.
And
But
he's like, nope, I do what I want. I got a tail now.
exactly.
Like-
and so like Sigourney Weaver's character, who has studied these people for years and years and years, is like never gets as close to them as this random dude does.
Yeah.
Who
it's
has
true.
literal no understanding of them. Doesn't
Like they
understand
kind
their
of knew
language.
her a little bit. They kind of knew her a little
They
bit, right?
did.
Yeah.
But they didn't accept her. I mean, she didn't mate with any of them. So
Yeah,
like
that's true.
I don't get. She never wrote a band. She never did any of that. Like I don't get what made him like wow.
I think it's because James Cameron is a white, cis, straight male, and it was just a no-brainer for him to write a character that was exactly that would be the hero.
Right.
He didn't think I think he probably thought he was edgy AF for putting him in a wheelchair.
Right.
And that's why we were supposed to care about him. And it just wasn't enough because Jake presented as a real dick. Like he seemed like the worst. He seemed like the type of guy that you would not want to do improv with.
Right. Oh
You
man.
know, for those of you not in improv, there's always that guy.
And,
Often a white straight male, not always, but
yes.
often.
And again,
And they talk over you.
Yeah.
They don't play by the rules, and that's this guy. That's the improv scene that you want to avoid if you do improv.
Exactly.
Don't hang out with people like this Jake guy.
He'd be at a jam. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
God.
he'd be at a
Jams are
jam, just
nightmares.
like tagging people out on their first. Also, they used papyrus font for their subtitles, which is like
What's that? I don't know. What
the
that
papyrus font in MS Word is. It's like if you go to any Thai restaurant, like they'll have the font in papyrus.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
So like I was like, so there are several motifs where they're like, okay, we're gonna make this papyrus to show that they're like an ancient people. What is that like? It's supposed
There's
to.
some connotations there I'm not digging.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also like the music is very like vocally like yeah and like Middle Eastern-y and stuff like that. And I'm like, so you've basically betrayed your thesis by like putting all of these like foreign or these like foreign tropes on these people. And I'm part Native American and like I know what happened to my people and it sucks.
Right.
And it's like kind of othering them. So
and mixing and matching with other cultures in a way that it was weird.
So going back to it, him being the one, like I don't even want to give an A for effort because I get what the thesis was for this, like, but like wow, what a big fumble in the execution, I guess. I think,
and then it did so well. It was rewarded handsomely, at least financially. Did the critics even like this movie? I didn't think to look that up until just now.
No, you know what?
Like,
I think we looked and it had an 82 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, that's true.
I'm shocked by that.
I thought it should have been 28. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It should have. I remember you saying that. Yeah, it should have been 28. Yeah. Anyways, and then all of a sudden he becomes like
their leader.
Their leader because he got one of the big flying.
But he
things.
got the leader killed basically.
Yes.
Like it was his fault that the girl's dad died.
Right. And I mean this kind of attests to the Na'vi. They should not have accepted him. They
were right.
should have exactly.
The ex-boyfriend or other love interest or
right.
who the hell the other guy was. We didn't really get a lot about him, so I don't really know. But
exactly.
he had a point. You said this while watching because he was saying in their language that like he's a sky person, he's an alien, we can't trust him. And we're like, but he has a point.
He has a point.
I mean, granted, this Jake guy eventually did help them, but they had no reason to believe that.
They had no reason to. And if anything, he gave them all the information so all the operations that they did was his fault.
Yep.
He was the one who was telling them what the structure of this tree of life was.
Yeah.
Like, he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And they
But he has a heart of gold. He changed. We're supposed to care. Like this is
my God.
It felt like a dated movie and it's literally, am I doing the math right? 13 years old? Like
yeah. And
when Harry Met Sally felt less dated than this
yes.
movie. This was just
right.
bad. It was just relying on old tropes that are
Yeah.
just so wooden and stiff and problematic, and they're like, it's gold, it's box office gold.
Yeah, and I guess the progressive thing was that they were like, oh, let's make them aliens instead of like
people on Earth.
People on Earth that we're gonna say. I mean, because this was like Dances with Wolves, which I think even Dances with Wolves did a better job because it wasn't necessarily Kevin Costner's character, and that was.
Yeah, I saw that when I was young, but I don't remember it either.
Yeah. I barely remember it, but
yeah.
I remember. I bet you that aged a little bit better than this, which I doubted.
I doubt it aged well. Yeah.
Well, but
yeah.
like I think it was just like.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous.
I just wrote a big note. It's just not that deep. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the tagline for this. It's just not that deep. I'm trying to look at my notes and just see if I missed anything worth talking about.
Because I mean, a part of it was I was going to talk about like their religion, but like even their religion was like, oh, USB cords.
Yeah.
Like
being connected to nature.
Right.
That felt very Native American to me, like respecting the tree of life, like that kind of stuff.
But there was no like there was nothing definitive about it. That was the part that they were definitive. Instead, we're gonna like, we'll get very detailed about like these robots that carry guns instead of having guns mounted on these robots. And we're gonna show you a million different types of helicopters. Oh, we're gonna get a big helicopter too. But like we're not gonna show about their religion and stuff like that.
It was hard to respect the world that they were in because we didn't know anything about the world that they were in.
Right.
You know, and I don't mean it like a diss. I just mean it like Kevin, or whatever his name, James Cameron was. I was gonna say Kevin Costner. I got stuck on Dances with Wolves, but like he didn't do a good enough job. Like, of course, I'm on the blue people's side. They feel like they're being attacked. I'm not trying to like sound crazy, but he did not do a good enough job of fleshing out why we should care about them. Besides the fact that they were just so innocent and pure, which is problematic in its own right because it's not humanizing. Which I know they're not humans, but they were humanoid. They acted like humans, so I don't fucking know.
And like the thing about it is like as we were watching, I was like even when we took our break, I was like I could have predicted literally everything that happened.
You said that,
and I did, but except for one thing, I thought at the end. And they did this to a certain extent when they're having like the big war, the big confrontation at the end. I thought there was going to be like more of a spiritual element. Like, oh hey, like we actually changed the mind of our enemies or something instead of just blowing them out of the sky. Like, I thought that there might have been, like, something like that.
You just see them board the Starship airplane or whatever it was, looking kind of defeated and humbled.
Exactly.
That was it, though.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't
Nobody learned anything really. I mean,
they just lost the war.
Yeah, they just lost the war, and they had to go back, and they felt bad about themselves a little because they lost. And,
their ego felt bad. They didn't learn a lesson.
Right, and I thought the ending was going to be okay. It's going to be this whole battle, but then there's going to be this moment where like a god comes out or talks to them, or like a deity, like a Mother Earth character or something, and that's kind of what I was predicting would be the end.
Yeah.
But instead, we just got what the ending was.
So bad.
Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, what did you guys think about it out there?
Tell us in any comments anywhere. My God.
I mean, was there anybody? I mean,
did we miss something? Did we miss something?
And again, I know we didn't see it in 3D, but we didn't. We had surround sound. We had
and I would have been annoyed having to wear those 3D glasses for that long because that hurts eventually. They're pretty cheaply made and
yes,
they
are
at weird moments. So I would have been annoyed even if that was my experience.
And it starts hurting your eyes after a while.
Yeah, you start. I get a dull headache actually after a while watching stuff in 3D. It's not my thing really.
So nearly 3 hours of that? No thanks.
Oof, no.
Yeah. But anyways, that's what we thought. I mean, I hope maybe the sequels will be good. I don't think I'm gonna watch it.
I have no interest because it's funny when we were talking earlier about like when it came out, you were saying something about your reaction to it, and I remember just like I don't have a very vivid memory, but I remember hearing all the hubbub about it. And I remember like looking at the preview and I was like, I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
And I, as an adult, as like a real adult, because I was pretty young when this came out, it's like, no, I trust my instincts on things. I've lived and I've learned. It could be about people, it could be about media. It's not that I don't want to give people or art a fair shake, but like at the same token, you do live and you learn and you know what you like at a certain point. And I really went into this with an open mind, but like I said, within the first 5 minutes, I was hating it because it was just too much. Everyone was so intense and there was no reason to be. And so I was like, no, my instincts were right. This is a case of like, this is just not my scene. I don't like this stuff. Yeah. I don't like it.
And I think like I don't think that there's anybody that is like, this doesn't seem like a thing that would have conventions for. It's just not that type of.
You're not going to paint yourself blue and like go to a convention. You're not going to stretch yourself out. You can't do that.
I mean, maybe there are, but I also
not.
I think that there is like I know this is weird, but like I think that there is kind of like a fetish for it or something.
Oh really?
A little bit,
Gross. I don't like to kink shame, but I'm going to in this case. This movie is so bad.
I feel like I watched a TV show and there was like somebody on there who was in that community or something, and I don't know. As far as like big blockbusters, and again, I'm not. I definitely like action more than you do, but this didn't hit. But hey, you know what? If people like it, that's fine. Like I'm not gonna get mad at you. I'm not gonna like.
I'm not gonna get mad, but we have also talked about how sometimes taste does matter, and like if you like really crappy mainstream things and you don't dig deeper. We're usually talking more about music because we're both kind of music snobs, but like I don't know though. It's not that I don't like mainstream things like movies or TV because I do, but. Oh, if this is your favorite movie, I don't think we have a lot in common.
No.
I think that is one of those indications. It sounds superficial, but to me it reads that you like war, you like white colonialism, you like not thinking about the deeper meanings behind those things, and you are very aggro, toxic masculinity inclined. So I don't think I'm wrong if I judge you for liking this movie.
Because I think there are some people, if they did like the movie, they got probably the wrong message out of it.
Yeah.
Because anybody who got the right message out of it would see it as being offensive. That's what my opinion is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Art and taste matter sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
There's wiggle room. It's squishy. I might even be squishier than you, I think, with some things like that. But with this movie, hard no. hard.
Yeah,
No, I don't like this movie.
Yeah. I did like the night scenes, and I did like the ride.
I like the puppet ears, and I also, the only thing I think I wrote down that we didn't talk about was I wouldn't mind seeing mechanical bulls being turned into those weird, whatever they were called. Yeah, like that would be that to me just sounds more fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Make mechanical bulls be that. I can be on board for that. But
well,
that was more of a joke than an observation. But yeah, I really hate it. I really hope that this is the movie I hate the most out of all the movies that we watched. Because this was rough. In part because it was long.
Yeah.
But like, there really wasn't a lot of things that I found forgivable about it. There was like 20 minutes before the war scene, before everything really fell apart in the final act. That I was like, because it was a little more human. It was a little more emotion based. It was a little more less screaming. It was a love story, which I'm not always a sucker for, but it was more grounded than the rest of the fucking film.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I almost am not hating this movie, and then it just turned it back up to an 11, and I was like, I'm out. Nope.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about it like this too. Like, this is a really bad like thing for a spectacle. Is like, if I was high, I don't think I would have liked it anymore. I would have probably liked it a little less, actually.
Right.
Which is crazy. Because usually a spectacle like that, I would like it more in that state. But anyways, yeah, that's what we thought about it. And did you have any other notes?
No, I think we covered it all. And even if we didn't, I'm actually sick of talking about this so much. I never want to think about this movie again, except for when we promote it this episode. So this has been Let's Finally Watch It. We have a TikTok and a YouTube and all the places that you can find podcasts. Let's Finally Watch It. That's the name of it. My name is Lauren-Blair Donovan, and you can find me on most social media at Blairosaurus Rex.
And I'm Clark Canez. I'm Clark C. Just all the time.
And let us know what you think about this movie.
Yes, yeah.
And
we were wrong.
Yeah, not gonna change my mind, but I will listen to yours if you have other takes, because I could be missing something, but
but probably not. Okay.
Yeah, but now I want to see Fern Gully, because isn't that the one that's the most ripped off? Probably.
Yeah, but there's.
It's an agglomeration of all the rip-offs.
Like, I would say there's like 3 main things, and different like messages from those, but just this was just all done worse than all those 3 things.
You're gonna steal, make it your own. Make it better. Yeah, steal from the best and do it better, but not to James Cameron apparently doesn't have to do that because he's already famous and rich. So that's a hard lesson. But there we go. Well, that's been Let's Finally Watch It. Yes. Our first 2 thumbs, 4 thumbs down, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.